All right, this is the Noir Hour, and I'm sitting here with William Control of Aiden and William Control. Will, how are you doing, brother?
I'm fantastic, man. How are you?
Well, once again, I'm nervous because this is pretty cool to be able to talk to you. Um,
Thanks a lot for having me. Appreciate you.
yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad to have you on here. Probably one of the biggest guests that I've had, and it's awesome. I wanted to check in and talk to you. Man, I'm not gonna stop smiling this whole time. What have you been up to, man?
Man, what have I been up to? Um, Enjoying life, away from dregs of the internet.
Yeah,
In all honesty, yeah, I've been building a new house. I moved from Tacoma. I lived in Tacoma the last few years. It's a total shit show. I moved us out of Tacoma. I built a new house. It's relaxing, man. Enjoying life.
yeah. That's awesome, man. So you said you haven't done any interviews this year. So this is
But any interviews in quite a long time. I get asked pretty regularly to do interviews, and I generally turn them down. But you caught me at a time when I wasn't too busy.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man. That I'm proud of that. Um, well, I was gonna tell you earlier. So I met you in 2014 in Pensacola, Florida, on the Common Christ tour, and so I went to that. I never went to shows by myself. That was the first show that I ever went to by myself, and I was like, well, I can't miss this show. And I'm not a huge fan of Combi Christ, so I was like, man, I'll get to go there and check out your stuff. You had just released what is it? I can't even remember what album that was. You had just released an album.
The Neuromancer.
Yes, yes. And I parked way far away, and I was walking to the door, and I met you. Actually, I think you were walking out to the bus or something, and I was like, holy shit! There was nobody in line. I was there really early, and there you were. And I was like, wow. I got a picture with you and everything, and I was wearing a Morrissey shirt then, as I am now. Um, this one is cooler than that one, but
That
it
one
was
is
awesome, man. Yeah,
my two
yeah, and I'll
favorite
never
bands.
do what?
My two favorite bands.
Yeah, yeah, I'll never forget that show. It was so different. I'm a metal guy, and it took me a while to get into William Control. Honestly, I was a fan of Aiden, but I was like, man, I don't really. It just wasn't my style. And then I guess as I got a little older, I dove back into it and really wound up loving it. And I've been a fan ever since. I guess that was probably 2011, 2012, and I really dove in hard. Um, but yeah,
It's
that was
for
a what?
it's definitely for older people.
Yeah, well, maybe I was just too young. I don't know. Um, I played one of your show. I played some of your music on the radio, and I've got a little chat in there, and they really enjoyed it. I think it. I think I did Mother Superior. That's one of my favorites.
That's a jam.
Yes, it is.
The whole album's a jam.
Yes, it is. I love that. My favorite. I think my favorite part of that whole thing is when it goes out and then comes back in. It's awesome.
It was a great
But
record.
but anyway, yeah, that was the coolest show because they had a barricade right in the front, and you were like, man, fuck this barricade. And you started reaching out and you grabbed me, and I had flip flops on. And man, I dove right over.
Man, who goes to a show in flip flops?
Well, it's Florida. So
Yeah, a Florida metalhead.
it was Florida and it was the summer. And I was just like,
What was I wearing?
uh, slacks and a vest, I think.
Man,
But
those Florida those shows are hard to play.
yeah.
It's so hot in Florida. I mean, in those venues, they don't have air conditioning.
Well,
It's
the air
just
condi well, even if they do have air conditioning, it doesn't matter. It'll never keep up with all the bodies.
Oh, so hot.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was the coolest. Man, I think my ears were ringing for a week after that, and so cool. But
That was a fun tour, man. I had a blast on that tour.
yeah, yeah, it was awesome. And that's the only time I ever got to see you. I never got to see Aiden. For whatever reason, this never worked out. But
How old are you?
any, huh?
How old are you?
I'm 31.
Yeah, I mean, Aiden kind of stopped. We stopped touring full time, like right around Disguises. It's kind of when I started doing William Control full time.
Yeah.
So that must have been what 2011 or 12?
Yes.
2011. And we kind of took a hiatus, and then I did that one tour in 2015, the last tour with Aiden.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It did.
we did a lot of touring like in the early mid 2000s, 2004 to 2010, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking out for that tour in 2015, but it never came anywhere close. So it was just impossible for me. But
Great
it,
tour.
what?
It was a great tour too.
Oh, I bet. I bet. I was listening to that album all day today. Um, it's great. The production on it is incredible. I think that's one of my. I know that you're a big fan of. I know that you're a big fan of the drums, and I think that was one of my favorite drum drumming albums that Aiden had.
The
Uh,
last one,
yeah, the last one. It was intense. I wanted to talk. I've got some notes here. I wanted to talk about how I first discovered Aiden. I
okay.
bought a Bayside CD, and in the CD was the DVD. And man, I think I found some of my favorite bands off of that DVD. I guess it was 2006 or 2007. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, which time doesn't seem like it used to anymore. But um, the Last Sunrise was on there, and I was like, "What is this?" You know. And I tell everybody I was real late to the music. I've always loved music. I never got a computer until 2009.
Wow.
So yeah, I never had a computer and I never really had full internet access until 2009. So I've made a career out of backtracking to find all my favorite stuff. And the bad part about that is, sometimes when you find your favorite bands, you're kind of shit out of luck. But that's how I found Aiden, is uh that Victory Records DVD. And I know everybody feels weird about Victory Records, and they're like, well, that's kind of a touchy subject to a lot of people, but
I mean, it's not a touchy subject to me. I
yeah,
mean, everything's pretty much out in the open. Like Victory Records, as much as everybody hated that guy and hated what they did, you got to hand it to them. Like they were a great record label.
yeah,
They were the promotion that they had, the promotion machine that that guy was able to create was incredible. Like I can't even count how many people have told me, "Oh, I heard of your band because I got your DVD on the Atreyu record when it came out, or I saw your video on the Bayside CD, or I saw you on tour with Hawthorne Heights or with Silverstein." Like the way that he was able to go piggyback bands off each other to promote other bands was fucking
it's
genius.
genius. Yeah,
Genius.
yeah,
Like
and
I would never, as much as I didn't like being on Vic. Well, I don't even want to say that. I did like being on Victory. I knew what the fuck I was signing up for
yeah,
when I signed my record deal when I was like 22 years old. Like I had known about Thursday and Taking Back Sunday and Earth Crisis and Hate Breed, like all these bands who were like Victory Record sucks and they steal all your money. Like I knew that going in, but I saw that they were stealing everybody's money, but I also saw that all their bands were fucking huge. All
yeah,
their bands, when you went to the Victory Records tour page in 2004, I think is when we signed, You went to that page on the website. It was tour after tour after tour after tour. Every fucking band was on tour all year long. It was like 6 months of touring for each band was listed on that site. And I was like, that's the fucking record label I want to be on.
Yeah.
I want to see the world. So I knew, you know, everybody knew that he was stealing all the money. That's what record labels do. So
Well,
I thought the record label was great.
yeah. Well, me as a fan, I loved it. I mean, I'd wear a Victory Records t-shirt right now if I had one.
I got a Victory Records tattoo, man.
I believe it. I believe it. I wonder, what are you listening to these days? I mean, you have been out of the public for quite a while. What's been catching your ear these days?
And I'll tell you what, I'm not like a big music guy. I don't sit around and try and discover new bands at all. Like all my favorite bands are dead singers from the 50s and 60s. Elvis, Johnny Cash, Sam Cooke, Frank Sinatra. There's another band recently that I've gotten into, and they're also from the 60s. I think is when they first started, but they're still a band, and they're called the Wolf Tones, and it's like a fucking Irish fight song band, and they just write songs about the IRA and how much they fucking hate England. It's fucking the best band on earth.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to listen to that.
I'll send you a link.
Sweet. So, what are you doing? Are you doing anything with? I've I've got a band to bring up. Control Records. You put out the sampler in 2017.
Yep.
Which there's a song on there that's getting pretty popular lately that people are just discovering somehow.
Oh yeah, Kate Bush song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that feel? I don't know if you look at Spotify much or if you look at all those numbers, but that's like one of your highest songs, and that song's been out for like 5 years.
Is it?
Yeah.
You know what? I don't pay attention to any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't look at it. I mean, I obviously was big. I'm a big Stranger Things fan. I think that show is probably one of the greatest shows ever made. Maybe because I'm 40 years old and it reminds me of the 80s as a kid. So I don't know if it's a nostalgia thing, but writing on it, the special effects, like, the show is fantastic. And that last season with that song in it, oh my fucking God. Good for her. To have written a song so long ago.
Yeah.
Just blows up because a television show puts it on their TV.
When you heard that song, what's the first thing you thought in terms of, holy shit, you've got the same song out there. You've got the cover of that out there. What did you think about that?
Man, I thought it was great. I mean, I love Kate Bush. I've loved Kate Bush for a long time.
Yeah.
And Kate Bush she has sold quite a few records. Like, she's not a tiny artist. She's not like me. But, no one is rocking Kate Bush, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, have that song go viral or whatever the term is these days. It was pretty cool, man. I thought good for her.
Yeah. Well, when you heard it, did you think about the fact that people might find your version and be like, whoa?
I mean, if they did, they did. I mean, I did get some messages that were like, oh, have you heard the song you did in Stranger Things? And I was like, well, that's a cover. And they're like, oh, like some people thought it was an original song.
I believe it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great song, though. We played that on Warped Tour.
Really?
Yeah, we played it on Warped Tour. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I was talking about the Control Records. There's a band on there, Black Blondes. I found them from Control. I found them from that sampler, and man, they're great. And I was talking to the lead singer a couple years ago, and I guess they've split. But I really enjoyed.
I mean, I haven't really talked to him in quite a number of years now. 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him a lot, man.
Yeah.
That's why I put him out.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you if you ever considered doing the record label again, or if you're just kind of over it.
You know, I don't know, man. Like, I've been really enjoying my life the last few years away from having to be online chronically, like promoting an album or a T-shirt or a tour or any, trying to make a living.
Yeah.
And I found a lot of peace, kind of away from being chronically online.
Yeah.
Been really nice and good for my mental health, good for
Yeah.
my family, good for my friends. So I don't know. I don't know really. Like I don't have a plan. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get back to work. I'm gonna do this record label. I don't know. Like I have some more music that I'm gonna release for sure. Who knows? Who
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah. Well, it's just some things that pop into my head. I was gonna ask about the music. Have you been writing? How often do you pick up a guitar and just like feel really inspired? I know a lot for me. There's a lot of times where I'm just not inspired, and you can't force that. So
um I mean I pick up the guitar. Like I keep an acoustic guitar
yeah,
time and I pick it up quite often. Play some ditties here and there. Uh I've been working on this. I've been working on this new place that I'm living at for about a year now, which I just finished the first part. So I haven't really had much time to be in the studio, and I also haven't broken the studio down. Getting ready to build something new out of my shop. Uh, so am I? What was the question again? Do I write a lot?
oh yeah, I mean, are you inspired? Are you writing much lately? Are you playing? Just
Yeah, I mean, I stay busy.
yeah. I can't help but ask. I'm just
I got a whole phone full of notes of songs that I've
yeah.
written. Yeah, see what happens. Maybe I'll make a country record next.
Well, you do have skeleton strings, and that's pretty acoustic as it gets. And
Yeah.
that's something else I was going to mention. I when skeleton strings first came out, I was like, man, this is awesome because everything is acoustic and it's all stripped down to its bare element. And those are some of my favorite albums. And also found a lot of songs off of there that I had never heard. Um, you know, the first skeleton string starts with "Free at Last." It's like, man, when that first G, when you strum the first G, it's like, holy shit, man! It was one of my favorites.
Those are fun albums to make too, man. I think I kind of prefer, like those albums were just songs that I like when I sit around and play the guitar and I like play a song. Those
Yeah,
are like my favorite songs to play, if that makes sense. And I
yeah,
just decided, fuck it, I'll just record it.
yeah. Well, you should definitely make more of those because it's very easy on the ears for sure.
Probably will.
Awesome, yeah. Um, so you're basically just enjoying life right now, kind of stress free, not doing a whole lot. I see there's not a whole lot on the merch side.
Yeah, like I said, the studio and the record and the screen print stuff is all broken down. I'm gonna do like I have a record that I'm gonna release, and I have a bunch of shit that I need to sell to fund the record. So I'm gonna probably do that later this year after I get this thing built in the shop, so I have a place to work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I know you've been quiet, and I know you've been through a lot of shit in the past couple of years.
I mean,
Um,
last couple of years things have been great.
well,
Going my best cowboy life out here in the country.
yeah. Well, in the past, we'll say some things, but I'm
Life
glad that
peaks and valleys, isn't
yeah, yeah, we all go through them. I think you've definitely had a tougher go at it than most, but
it? I don't know, man. Uh, I'm sure. I'm sure that other people have had it a lot tougher than I
Yeah. Well, it seems pretty brutal at times. Following you and being a fan and kind of checking in here and there and seeing what's going on. So I was going to ask you, since you did Skeleton Strings and you covered him, Funeral of Hearts, which him is my all-time favorite.
am. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I know that you went on tour with him, and I know that you were pretty close to Villa Valo, and that's awesome. I just wanted to ask how was that? You know?
Man, I'll tell you what. I've done so many fucking tours. I've played with some of the biggest bands on the planet and have done some of the biggest tours on the planet. And that HIM tour was one of my favorite tours I've ever done.
I believe, yeah, I've seen you rocking the Heartogram earlier in the career, and him is the best to me. I just it's hard for me to top it. They kind of check all the boxes.
Yeah, they're great, man. Every record is awesome. Yo, I'll say when we first started, like when Aiden first started, what I noticed was that the bigger the band was, like the more popular a band was or the more records they had sold, generally, like most of them were more down to earth.
Yeah,
It's like kind of the bands that were smaller had more of an ego. And touring with him was like a real eye-opening experience of the humility of someone that has sold millions of albums, but is on tour and writing music because they genuinely love music and they love performing. And getting to tour with that band was very humbling, and it really made me appreciate like the art of music. And I've been on a bunch of tours at that point, and it was always like, you know, four openers and the headliner, and that's a tough thing to deal with when you're on tour, when you're playing, second of five on a tour, and there's gear all over the place, and everybody's trying to get paid, and it's like really difficult. One of the reasons that tour was the best tour I've ever done was that it was just Aiden and him. We played at 8 o'clock, played to 8:45, 15-minute break. They played from 9 to 10:30. And it was like so fucking easy. And
yeah,
they didn't need to bring any band on tour. They could have gone out and sold the same amount of tickets. It wasn't like Aiden was bringing a whole big crowd to this, amphitheater. You know what I mean? Like they could have just done the tour on their own, but they I don't know why, but they decided they liked us and took us on the tour, and it was so much fucking fun, man. So fun and so easy, and everybody was so cool. And I stayed friends with Villa for a long time. I mean, I haven't talked to him in a couple years, probably since before the pandemic, but
yeah.
we stayed friends for a long time.
Have you heard any of his new music that he's done?
I have, yeah, it's really good. I like it a lot. I like him as a songwriter, man. He's a great songwriter.
Oh yeah, he's one of the best to me. Um, Next year he's going on tour, and I'm gonna go see him in New Orleans and then Orlando 2 nights later, which is fucking insane. But you know,
God.
yeah. Well, that's awesome that you had such a good experience because you know, I mean, I've been following Aiden for so long, and you over your career and loving every bit of it. And I always see pictures of you in Villa Valo here and there, and I was like, and the tour, and I was like, man, I got to ask you about that because it had to be so cool because he's a very private person, and and you are too in respects. So to see him out, I I I feel like he's one of the last people that has a real mystery to him. Um, Whereas, like, rock stars these days, they post everything. They throw their whole life out there. And it's like me and the lead singer of my band were talking about the age of the rock star is kind of dead. Um, they throw everything out there, and that's the one thing that, my singer, he's very reserved as well, so you don't get a whole lot from him. And me, I'm all out there, which is cool, but I'm not the lead singer, so it's all right. The age of the rock star, I mean, rock stars, everybody wants to believe that they still exist, and it not so much, in my opinion.
That's the truth.
But you're kind of the same way. I mean, you're not all out there. You throw, you do a little here and there.
I for a long time, you know, that's
Yeah.
the world. Like that's the world we live in now. With regards to the way that the record industry has changed because of the internet. You know, when I got signed, right? You had the record labels were the gatekeepers of everything. Like the record labels controlled the distribution, they controlled video production or who got paid for video production, they controlled press, they controlled PR, they controlled merch, they controlled everything. It was like they were the hub. And, for me, I was just a singer in the band. And my job was to go out on tour and fucking rip these kids a new asshole on stage.
Yeah.
Then as the rise of the internet, happened, Facebook and first it was MySpace and Facebook. Then it was more conducive for an artist to be able to connect directly with the fans, and they started chipping away at the power that the record label had, and like for instance, Aiden, sold 1 million records, but I never got paid from the record label. I never made any money from Victory. The only time I ever made money was on tour. And even though Aiden was fucking huge, and we were on magazines, and we were on MTV, and we were a fucking band on huge tours, I was living in my drummer's parents' basement.
Yeah.
I was fucking broke. Because all the money we made on tour just went to the next tour. You know what I mean? Like we made a little bit when we
Yeah.
home, but then with William Control, like the direct to consumer avenue of the music industry was how I was able to pay my mortgage and pay the people in my band, and I was able to wrestle that control from the record label and do it all myself. So then I was in charge of video and merch, and I owned the publishing and everything. So I was able to finally make a living making art, even though William Control wasn't as big. So it's like, in order to do that, in order to keep people engaged and to keep them coming to your page so that when you sell something, they'll see it, is you have to keep them engaged with like, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm at, this is where we're going, this is what's happening, blah, 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 blah. Because what happens is you have a fucking feed on your phone, you have an Instagram feed and you post something and then it just disappears and they don't ever see you again. So you've got to constantly be updating people.
Yeah.
I think that has taken the mystery away from musicians and their lives, but it's like a double-edged sword. Like I was able to make a living, but I had to put myself out there so much. So I've stepped back from that because I don't need to make a living anymore with music.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, when you get, there's certain bands and artists that are at such a plateau or such a high place that they don't really have to do all that. They don't have to give into that. Like Ville Valo, for instance, or even I know you haven't been doing, you haven't been real active. I know you put out the EP last year, but it's cool. It's cool to kind of keep a uh, little mystery, I think.
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah. So I remember the day that you said that, you're coming off a tour, shutting everything down, and it's just you're done. Thanks for everything. And do you think you might ever hit the stage again?
Shit, man, I don't know. I remember that day pretty clearly. And, I think like the catalyst of that, I did Warp Tour in the summer, and
Yeah.
then I did a tour with Motionless in White, and they're fucking huge now.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh shit, yeah, I'll fucking open up for Motionless in White. Hell yeah. I like Chris, and fuck it, let's do it. Let's take the tour. And I remember being on that tour, and obviously, like, Motionless in White has quite a rabid fan base. It's like real, just like all about them.
Right.
And that's killer. But doing what we did, the music that William Control makes wasn't it didn't go over very well with these, like, metalheads. They're like metal kids and chicks that like, eyeliner. So, like, the shows for us weren't, even though there was tons of people there, 1,000, 2,000 people every night, it just wasn't a good experience
Yeah.
playing. It wasn't a very pleasurable playing experience. Because I was in Aiden. I like punk rock. I like mosh pits and people
Yeah.
getting into it. And that's kind of that really energetic live experience kind of feeds my pleasure centers. And I wasn't getting that on that tour. And we did almost the whole tour, like 3 weeks of it. It was like a month-long tour. And I remember being in Texas and just like having the worst time on stage and thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? I've played all these venues. I've played these venues as an opener. I've played these venues as a headliner. I've played these venues in the middle of a bill. I've played all the fucking venues in the world that I could possibly play.
Yeah.
I'm, 35 years old. I'm opening up for a tour for a bunch of people that don't give one single fuck about me. Like, what am I doing? And I felt like, Forrest Gump in that movie when he's running, and he's just like, I want to go home.
I gotcha.
Like, I want to go home to my bed. I want to go home to my family. I want to go home to my friends. Like, why am I out on this tour, away from my friends and family, away from my son, and
Yeah.
I'm just not having a great time? What, for money? Like, I don't give a fuck about money.
Yeah.
So, and that, it kind of just came to a head, and I thought, what, fuck it, I'll just go home and I'll just make music and do merch, and that'll be that.
I understand that. You've got so many ventures. I mean, an empire. No, I mean, holy shit, you got one. I mean, you can do a record label. I mean, you've got a record label. You can produce that if that's what you decide to do. The merch, fucking great. You can do that. You can make music and put it out. You're kind of at a point where you don't have to tour. Me selfishly and thousands of other people I know would love to see you on tour, but I understand where you're coming from. Um, we've kind of my band, we've kind of taken a break from shows and stuff. We just released a single, and it's doing good. We're a smaller band. We've got a diehard following, um, and on a small degree, but it's we've got people that really love what we do, and we just released a single off of the new album that we're writing, and the most important thing is the music. Um, if we're playing a show on the southeast coast or whatever, and there most of our fans are overseas, a good deal of them are in other countries, and the most important thing is the music. And that's kind of and that's been kind of hard for me being a drummer. I'm like, well, I'm kind of cutting out the live shows, but I've really found a lot of almost a new passion in writing and and just making music, because the music is what's important. You know, because if we go on tour, we'll miss, let's just say we'll miss 50% of the people that really want to see us, and then it'll be a lashing regardless. So it's like, we're just kind of taking some time.
I had a great time on tour, man. I mean, I remember when I started Aiden, like the only goal that I had when I started Aiden was if we could just draw 100 people a night, not even 100. I thought maybe, if we could just draw enough people to make enough money to get to the next city,
Yeah.
eat food, we'll be good. All good. Like that's all I wanted to do when I was a kid was get the fuck out of Seattle and see the world. And I did that. And
Yeah.
I did it for years. Years. Like 15 fucking years I went out and saw the world.
Yeah.
And it was an incredible experience. I met so many killer people, so many fuckheads.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, hell, I'd love to see you on the road, but you don't really have to.
Bro, it would take a lot to get me to go out on tour. I'll tell you what it is. Like I love performing. I'm an entertainer. I'm a performer. I love entertaining an audience. I really do. But what I don't love now, at 40 years old, when I was a kid, it was fine to sleep on people's floors. It was fine to sleep in roach motels. It was
Right.
fine to sleep in the van. It was fine to eat McDonald's. Like I'm 40 years old, I can't eat McDonald's anymore. I need vegetables and salad and
Right.
healthy fucking prepared food. I don't want to sleep on people's floors with fucking cat shit and fucking, what I mean? Like I can't. I'm not a punk rocker anymore.
Yeah.
And it's the endless waiting. You drive all fucking day or all night, and then you get to the venue, and then you have to wait till showtime. And they make you get to the venue at fucking 3 o'clock in the afternoon to set up to play at fucking 10 p.m. So it's like endless waiting. I can't. Like I have too many things to do to like sit around and wait.
Yeah.
It's the touring really that prevents me because I do love performing, but fuck me, dude. The touring is. And I what really fucking what did it for me? What else did it for me? Like the last time I was in Europe, and the last time I was in Europe, I was so fucking bummed out by everything. I was like, this fucking place sucks so bad. The roads suck. They're small. The showers suck. Everybody has shitty food. Fuck the Eiffel Tower. Fuck, Trafalgar Square. Like, fuck all of this shit. Fuck the fucking 12-hour flight. Fuck the tiny little van we have to travel in. Like, fuck all of this. And I just thought, wow, what an asshole I am. That a lot of people would be so fucking pumped to be in Europe or Asia or Australia or Japan or whatever. They would be so pumped to just be traveling to these places. And I'm like, oh, I've been here 50 times. Like,
Yeah.
I want to go see the stupid church.
Yeah. Well, that's reasonable. I mean, you've kind of been there and done it.
I've seen my buddy, one of my buddies is on tour with Ben right now, and he was doing. They were at Riot Fest in Chicago, and they did Reading Festival in England, and he was sending me pictures from like the stage, and the crowds were huge, and I was like, so pumped for him, like, yo, this is so great for you, and internally I'm just like, ugh, I can't imagine having to like set up and do this fucking all these people around, it's too old for this shit.
I get it. Well, you know what all it takes to get to that point, and I can understand that. Being kind of a lower band, and enjoying success in our own respect, but I get it. You get shady bookers. I mean, so when I'm talking about myself, this is taking you back quite a few years, but I mean, you get shady people trying to do shady deals, book this show. You get an email, hey, come here. We've got hotels booked. Everything's good. You get there, nothing's set up. You get fucked. And when you're there,
bro, you get fucked, and the promoter will just disappear with all the money, and then you got to drive around the city that you're not familiar with to try and find this dude to beat him up and take the money. I don't want that anymore. I don't want to fucking.
Well, you probably wouldn't have to deal with that as much at this level, but I understand what you're saying.
I mean, there's been plenty of times where people have tried to like skip out paying us, where we've had to like get physical. Like, hey,
yeah,
some bad stuff's gonna happen unless you fucking pay us.
yeah. Well,
I don't want to do that.
the early 2000s, from what I hear, were pretty shady times.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Especially with for like Aiden, before Aiden like started selling Sun Records and got a proper booking agent. We used shitty booking agents or just promoters in different shows, and it was always a shitty experience.
Yeah.
I booked our first tours out of have you ever heard of a magazine called Maximum Rock and Roll?
I've heard of it from people talking about it, yeah.
Yeah, so Maximum Rock and Roll was like a punk zine, black and white punk zine that just wrote about shitty fucking punk bands like Crass and Leftover Crack and like crust punk stuff. And it was kind of just like it was a zine.
Yeah.
And on the back of that fucking thing was an advertisement for this book. It was called Book Your Own Fucking Life, BYOFL. And in the back page it said BYOFL, Book Your Own Fucking Life, send $5 to this address. That's all it said. So you sent $5 cash in the mail, and they would send you back it was a resource guide. It was called Book Your Own Fucking Life. And every page was filled with resources from every state. So it was like Alaska, Arizona, Alabama, alphabetical. In every state, it would have all the punk bands in that state, all the college radio stations in that state, the phone numbers, everybody's couch that you could sleep on, shitty houses that you could play shows in, and it would just list a phone number, and you would call the number and be like, hey, I'm in this band, it's called Aiden, and we're coming through fucking Sparks, Nevada. Can you put us up and maybe set up a show? And then they would be like, oh yeah, we have a band too, and when we come through town, we'll call you and you could set us up a show. So it's like, a resource guide for punk rock kids.
Right.
Punks. And that's how I booked our first tour. So we played like Sparks, Nevada, and South Dakota, Rapid City, South Dakota, Missoula, Montana, places like that.
Yeah.
Some of those shows are like really memorable. Like I still remember a lot of those shows. But a lot of the people on those in that resource guide were total fucking scammers. They try to steal your fucking gear. They try to rip you off for a show or whatever the fuck. I mean, it's not like we were making a whole bunch of money, but
right.
Yeah, those are crazy times.
Yeah, I can't remember. I've got a couple of your books. This is by far one of my favorites. I don't know why it's just so short and small, and some of the things in it are just, I mean, it's insane. I've always enjoyed, when I was younger, I used to keep this on my coffee table. It was almost like a conversation piece, and I think I had emailed you about that one time, and then I had a friend that actually had given me that book. It was pretty cool. And I have a story about Revelator. So when I got this book, you had I didn't want to tell this, but I have to tell this. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's funny at the same time. So when you were selling this book, you had William Control condoms. And they were super cheap, and I just bought some as a gag. I never used any of them. I still have all of them. I bought it as a gag, just kind of like a cheap souvenir from this time. And you wrote in my book, and man, goddamn.
What did I write? Oh no, what did I write?
You said it's nice to see such a responsible young man. Take care of that dick. It's the only one you'll ever have.
Bro, I'm a fucking golden god.
And I'm like, funny. So I'm thinking, what does William Control think of me? Because I just bought these as kind of like a gag, and they were cheap, and I was like, I'll just throw them, wherever, throw them on the shelf or throw one in the book. And now just talking about, and now I sound like I'm a promiscuous person. I'm like, what the fuck? But it's
That's awesome.
funny.
That is funny.
It's funny. It's when I
And
first,
you
I, huh?
gotta take care of that dick.
That is true. I mean, with any appendage. So, but yeah, I can't believe that I just told you that, but I couldn't get away without saying it because I've thought about that for years. I'm like, man, I can't believe that he wrote that in there. But that was a while ago.
Yeah, that
Um,
must have been 2015 or so ish.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was the final copy of Revelator. Um, I can't remember. I think I'm bad with dates. I'm bad with years.
Well, I
Because
know the book. See, the album came out 2014. I think it was after that.
yeah,
Yeah, after that. It was probably 2015, 2016 ish.
yeah, yeah. Time is weird, man. Because I was listening to the last Aiden album today, and I'm like, that was 2015.
Ah,
I mean, because I don't know, man. My days just go by so fast. Everything is just so sped up.
it
Uh,
only gets faster.
yeah, that's what I hear. I'm nervous about that. But,
Remember to enjoy the ride.
yeah, man. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I appreciate so much getting to talk to you. Um, I'm a huge fan. All my buddies every time. We always talk about the days of listening to Aiden and driving around doing fucked up shit. Like kids do. Like I was a kid. It was good times. Having the CDs in the visor, Aiden, Silverstein, Bayside, The Used, First Hawthorne Heights. I was an emo kid, and I like that. It's endearing.
Let me ask you this, man. What do you think about this whole like resurgence?
The what?
What do you think about this whole emo resurgence that's happening?
It started. It's the emo's not dead guy that's doing the little skits and stuff. I think
Yeah,
that's what
dude,
kind of started up.
it's fucking funny. I find it quite fucking weird.
Well,
It's
I think.
I was in that scene almost 20 years ago,
Oh, they shit
and
all over it. They shit all over it.
yeah, it's really fucking bizarre.
Well, I mean, maybe it's nostalgia. I mean, everything new, everything that comes out is robbing from the past because there's no more creatives left in pop culture. Um, like I was at the grocery store and I saw Miller Lite beer and it's 90s themed beer. There's just it's got little designs on it to buy it. I mean, there's nothing super creative going on. So everybody robs from the past. I think that's why Stranger Things to you was such a big thing because it kind of brings you back. And these
Yeah,
times that we're in now are fucked.
yeah,
Everything just feels so fucked up. Um,
yeah. You know what? Yes, you were right about that. Everything is fucked up, and I'll tell you what. There's two. Well, maybe it's different for me, but I'll like open up my phone and I'll see the fucked up things that are happening, and I'm like, fuck all this.
yeah,
And then I'll turn it off and I'll go outside in the country where I live, and everything is fucking awesome.
yeah,
Everything is awesome. And when I go to the grocery store, things are fine. I think the internet just amplifies the worst things of our society, and it kind of highlights the shittiest things that are happening.
right,
But in reality, if you turn it off every once in a while and just go outside into nature or into, whatever, then you'll realize that things aren't actually that bad.
yeah. Well, I fed into a lot of the political things and whatnot, and I've turned it all off. I can't live my life like that. I'm becoming a pain in the ass for everybody around me, and I'm not convincing anybody or me knowing everything that's going on and sharing that knowledge doesn't help anybody. I've turned it all off. I don't care about what is going on here or there.
Yep.
Um, we're all
Same.
gonna have to deal with it together, and hopefully we come out of where we're at now better, stronger. Um,
Hey man, peaks and valleys.
yeah,
That's what this life is.
yeah,
That's what the world is. That's what society is. Peaks and fucking valleys. All the time, forever.
yeah, yeah. Everything is cyclical
Things
for sure.
will get great, and things will get shitty, and things will get great. Whatever. I'm gonna fucking barbecue meat, and I'm gonna shoot guns, and I'm gonna fucking work on my car and ride my motorcycle, and I'm gonna fucking live a good life.
Yeah, and you're gonna make some more. You're gonna make another Skeleton Strings album.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Will, I'm not gonna keep you any longer, man. We've been on here for a while. I just thank you so much for this chat. It means so much to me. I know you haven't talked much. I hope that the people that find this chat where it's just you and I, um, just talking about shit, and then nothing's. I hope that it finds people in a good way. I know that it'll find people that miss you. You know, you still have a huge fan base, despite whatever. And at the end of the day, it's the music that's the most important. And I think a lot of your fans have kind of grown up with you, obviously, and you know the true fans. The most important thing is the music, and seeing that you're alive and well, and of course I won't get into all that. I don't know. I kind of tuned all that out, but it's good to see.
Everything is great,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Hell yeah, man. Absolutely.
Let's do it again sometime.
Shit, you got me, man. Anytime. Is there anything that you'd like to plug before we go?
Nope.
Have fun. Have a I don't know. Go outside, enjoy some nature, and just live your life and be a good person and
Do it.
love the people that love you. I guess.
Yep.
Awesome, dude.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, I'll see you on the other side of this, and we will talk soon.
Okay.
See you, man.